In this video, we're going to talk about exception handling in Python, at least a little bit of exception. There's more to it, but we'll cover just the basics. So an exception occurs with a runtime error. Okay, so if you have a syntax error, that's something different. Syntax error means that the grammar of your program is wrong. You're violating the rules, like you're typing in print for print. Okay. The kinds of errors we're talking about are runtime errors. These are errors that only exist because of the state of the program. The state of the program is the current value of all of the variables. Okay. So that's what we're talking about here. So here's an example of code that could generate some exceptions. Okay. So we have x is equal to int input, enter a number. Okay. If we run this, okay, if I enter a number, if I type in Bob for the number, okay, you see that I'm going to get an exception. Okay, you've probably seen things like this before pop up in your code. Okay, so this is saying it's a value error. Okay, so that's the kind of error, that's the kind of exception that we need to capture. Okay, so a well-formed program, so a good program shouldn't ever display these kinds of messages to the user. Okay, so the reason we're going, or the way we're going to stop that is through the use of a try block. So when you put try : it's going to protect everything that's indented as part of that block. Okay, and if any exception occurs, it will go down and deal with it, as at least the exceptions that you've told about. Okay, so let's take a look at what this code looks like. So in this case, I've got more or less the same program, except that I've added a loop here. So while true, so it's going to keep going forever and ever. Okay, I'm going to try here to the same line we had before, x is equal to int input, please enter a number. Okay, if we try to do this with a number, hits the break, we're out of the while loop, we go on our way. Okay, but if we enter something that's not a number, as long as what we enter raises, that's why we use it, raises a value error exception. Okay, we're going to handle that particular error right here. If this were instead a division by zero error, it would not handle it. Okay, so it's only handling this exception error. In this case, we can say, whoops, that's not a valid number, try again. Okay, and because we didn't break, we say this while true forever. Okay, so if I run this one, enter a number, enter Bob this time, it's like, whoa, you can't do that. Try something else. I enter a 4 and we're good. Okay, so no issues there at all. Okay, so a try block can have multiple except blocks if you need it to. Okay, so if you want the same block of code to handle division by zero error and a name error and all those, you would just have multiple. I'm in the wrong bit of the code here. You could have multiple here. So I could again do something like except zero division error. As you start typing it in, at least in Colab, it gives you those error messages. Okay, and then I would have the code to deal with that, whatever it is there. Okay, it's also possible you can have one except statement that does multiple errors. Okay, so this one says if they get a runtime error or a type error or a name error or whatever, and the pass statement, I don't think we've seen that yet. It does nothing. It's just a placeholder. It keeps there from being an error for there not being a line there. Okay, usually it's something we'll go back and add later. Okay, so those are the basics, and we really now should be using these excepts in our programs. You get used to it; it's not a big deal. The main place we're going to be raising these errors, and usually the errors come when we're asking the user for input. Okay, so that's where we're going to be checking for those. Okay, if you have questions, let me know, and we'll talk about it.